my name's Bridger Fates, and welcome to Master Stockman Consulting's educational video series on business power tools for agriculture. You know, in ag, we use a lot of tools, and we're used to using a lot of tools. It could be as simple a tool as this T-post, or maybe as useful a tool as this bell wagon. But today, we're really going to focus on business tools for agriculture. You know, whether you're raising chickens and maybe selling some eggs at the local farmer's market, or even selling produce from your garden, or you could be producing livestock. These tools will help you on the road to a profitable and sustainable ag business. We have 7 videos in this series that'll help you. The first video is basic farm and ranch economics. Then we have business tools for agriculture. Then using the Wyoming Ranch Tools site. Then we have record keeping for ag. Then we have getting started in agriculture. And then we finish up with implementing the scientific process and implementing ag research. These videos are made possible through funding from Western SARE, and we appreciate their support. In this video, Barton Stam's going to talk to us about implementing ag research.
Well, thanks, Bridger, for that introduction. My name is Barton Stam, and today I'll be talking to you about applying ag research to your ag operation. Many ag producers might be looking to ag research project results with the thought of applying those factors into their own operation because of research they've seen from others. And throughout this presentation, we'll look at how you might look at research to see if its results might benefit your operation. The first step is to evaluate the results of research you're looking at. You'll want to go through this process in steps. These steps are looking at the sources of the research and a peer review, determining the results' applicability to your operation, and finally, to see if these results would be in line with your operation's goals. Let's look at this first step. Sources of research. In this age of technology, access to good research is pretty easy, but there are also questionable sources of research out there. In order to determine if a source is reliable or not, take a look at a couple of details. Is this research project peer-reviewed? Peer-reviewed means that other scientists that were not involved in conducting the original research took a look at this project to see how it was conducted. Then they determine if the research is valid and should it be published in a peer-reviewed journal. Peer review is not a guarantee of good research, but it does increase the odds of finding quality results. Another way to validate research is if there have been similar projects that came to the same or close conclusions. Did the scientists that conducted the research you were looking at consult other sources of information? Did the project have an appropriate sample size? For instance, a project that only sprayed a few weeds one time wouldn't have near the validity that a project did that sprayed acres of weeds across several different years. Were there any flaws in the project? These might be hard to find, and usually peer reviewers are used to eliminate them, but it's worth looking for any flaws that are obvious in a research project. And finally, could the project be replicated by reading the report? A sign of a good research project is that there's enough detail that somebody else that wasn't involved in the original research could start from the ground up and repeat or replicate the research project. Next, we want to look at the applicability of the research project compared to your own situation. Climate, soils, location, type, size are all factors here that should be considered. Soils, for instance, differ greatly in pH, organic matter, salts, etc. Using soil information from the Midwest and trying to relate that to the deserts of the Great Basin would probably end in disaster, for one example. Also, you'll want to consider in your available markets and comparing them to those done in the studies would also be helpful. Long distances to livestock markets can affect profitability, Also, the size of a local market can greatly impact your potential customer base. Many of our ag operations are in small rural communities, and they may not have the customer base that other businesses might if they're closer to metropolitan centers or areas of high population. Conducting your own research. While this presentation is mostly about looking at others' research and applying it to your operation, you can do a lot of good things on your own operation, or in other words, creating your own research project. And this is a very good reason to become familiar with the scientific process that we have covered in another presentation. If you are looking at applying research to your ag operation in order to change the management of your business, first take some time to consider if this potential change would be consistent with your goals. Lots of times, ag producers are looking at a change to increase their net profit. How will we know, though, if a change will actually reveal that increased profit? One tool to help us figure that out is called a partial budget. It's important to remember, though, that a partial budget does not give a complete answer. A new change might show a small increase in profit, but come with a higher level of risk. Or it might show that a change would be profitable, but its implementation would be unacceptable to the owners or the management team. So if you're looking at the partial budget, which is a tool for making management decisions, here are a couple scenarios that you might consider for when to use a partial budget. And remember that we covered a partial budget in some of our other videos in this series. At the bottom of this slide is a link to our webpage, which will give you an online partial budget template, which you can use as your partial budget tool for comparing different scenarios on your ag operation. Getting back to some other decisions. Like we said, the partial budget tool is just that, a tool. It's cold, it's unfeeling, and a lot of times it doesn't incorporate the human factor. So be sure, again, to consider the other factors of changing the management on your operation. The partial budget might help you in terms of, is it worth it monetarily? But it doesn't do a very good job of calculating all the risks involved. That's where you'll need to use consultation with your management team, perhaps the owners or others that can help you through this process. So after going through this presentation with us, we have your homework assignment for you, which is here on this slide. The link there is to a YouTube video where you can learn about a project where a partial budget was used for interseeding grass and legumes to reduce nitrogen requirements. We hope you'll have fun with this assignment. Hopefully it was informative for you. And please remember to take a look at the rest of the videos in this series.